Good afternoon to one and all. So this is our last class for this weekend, and very less is only 65. Okay, join as quickly as soon as possible. Okay, now we are going to start our class. That's our utilization of electrical energy. Now we are going to deal with the unit 2, that is your electrical heating. So far we have seen so many topics of the second unit regarding the methods, mode of transfer, and design, some of the problems on the design and method of heatings. So in that method of heatings, we has been classified into two types, that is power frequency heating and high frequency heating. So under the power frequency heating, we have completed the different types of methods what we have used for this heating your required charge or a material or the substance. So there in this power frequency, we have seen direct resistance heating, indirect resistance heating, and radiant heating. And also in that power frequency, another method of heating is arc meeting. In that arc heating, we have seen the two types, that is direct arc heating and indirect heating. So based upon that, we have seen some problems. Now we are going to step into our second method. Other than power frequency, we are going to study about the high frequency methods, high frequency heating methods. So under this high frequency heating, there are two classifications has been made under this high frequency heating. Those are induction heating type and dielectric heating. So for today class, I would like to give a detailed explanation regarding this induction heating. So in this induction heating also has been subclassified into two types, that is direct induction heating and indirect induction heating. So let us start our the discussion. So first of all, I would like to have a question. So what is this difference between this power frequency and the high frequency? So there is only one difference. When we have came to the comparison between this power frequency and high frequency, the main difference between the power frequency and high frequency is in the conventional methods where we are using these methods of heating. In the conventional, the mode of heat generated or the mode of heat is transferred either in convection, conduction, and radiation. So these are going to be done where we use the power frequency method. But whereas while using these high frequency methods, we are not going to see any type of mode of these types of transfer, that is conduction, convection, and radiation. So here the main important thing you have to uh, check out is here the heat is going to be transferred by the electromagnetic induction, electromagnetic energy by the which was the operating at the high frequency. Okay, let us continue. So the main difference is when coming to the power frequency and the high frequency, the main difference is in the conventional methods, we are going to use only the conduction, convection, and radiation. But whereas in the high frequency methods, we are not going to deal with this type of mode of transfer. This completely depends upon your electromagnetic energy. Therefore, by using that electromagnetic energy, we are going to convert that energy into the heat energy, and we are going to heat the material which we require. Okay, I will show you. Okay, this slide. Sorry. Okay, it's see. This is the same thing I have just explained you. The what is the main difference? Why we are using this? Where we are using this power frequency and high frequency heating? Okay. So this high frequency, now we are going to deal with this high frequency heating. In this high frequency heating, the heating can be applied to the two types of the materials. That is insulating materials and magnetic materials. So in these magnetic materials also, they has been subclassified into two types. That is ferromagnetic materials and non-ferromagnetic material. So based upon these classifications, this high frequency heating is going to be applied. This high frequency heating method is going to be applied. So based upon these type of materials, we has been classified into two types, that is induction heating and dielectric heating. So now we can easily say where we are going to apply this induction type of heating and dielectric type of heating. Okay, where the heating of conducting materials, that is such as what we have said, that is either in a ferromagnetic materials or non-ferromagnetic materials. So where the heating methods are employed on these type of materials, that is ferromagnetic and non-ferromagnetic, so then it is known as, the heating process is known as induction heating. Check out. Yes, see the heating of conducting materials. So what I said here, let me take my pen. Okay, see the heating of this ferro and non-ferromagnetic materials, whatever the process we are going to make to heat this conducting materials, that is nothing but, that process is known as induction heating. So whereas a part of these materials, the process of heating which is going to be done on insulating materials, that process is going to be considered as your dielectric heating. Check out the slide. The process of heating of insulating materials. So there you are using the conducting materials. So the difference you have to note it out. That is where for both the materials you are going to employ the high frequency heating only. But this high frequency heating has been classified into two types. That is induction heating and dielectric heating. Now, how you are going to differentiate for which materials the process of heating takes place, so that process of heating has been considered. So based upon these conducting materials, the type of heating method we are employing is induction heating, and the same high frequency heating has been employed for the insulating materials, that can be dielectric heating. Okay, please remember these 2 points, very important. Don't get confused. So by heating the conducting materials, we are going to have induction heating, and heating up the insulating material causes dielectric heating. Okay, so whereas we are talking about these conventional methods, from starting we are going to use this conventional method, where the heat transfer by this conventional method is very low. Where we are using this conventional method, the heat transfer is going to be very low for these conventional methods. That is, we are going to use these conventional methods only in the power frequency heating side only. So there you can get up to 20 watts per square centimeters. We are going to get about 20 watts. 20 watts of heat is going to be supplied at the usage of your conventional methods. But whereas while using this high frequency heating, you are going to get, that is 500 times more than the power frequency heating. That is, when you employ this high frequency heating to melt or to heat up your charge, so that is by either by induction or by an dielectric method, the heat is going to be as much as 10,000 watts per square centimeters. That means it is 500 times greater than the power frequency method. Please check this. I will show the check out this this one. The heat transfer, this conventional method where we using this power frequency, it is going to have the 20 watts. That is the, he has given the range. Sorry, the minimum range, the minimum is 0.5 watts to up to the maximum 20 watts only. You are going to have this transfer of heat while you using the conduction, convection, or by radiation. The heat is going to be transferred for the range. Whereas the high frequency heating is the 500 times. It is when you have compared 20. This is going to be 10,000 watts per square centimeters. So that's why here the high frequency heating has been considered very much important. Why? Because it is having a tremendous speed of production. If you want to have your production very speed, so then you are going to use this high frequency heating. That's why it is very important when we compared with the power frequency, high frequency heating is very most important. Why? Because it is going to have the very high speed of production. Yes, that's the thing I have said. Okay, just let's step into the next. Next, yes, this induction heating. What is this induction heating? So how you can be define this induction heating? So first of all, stepping into the definition, you can easily understand by the word itself, induction. So the heat is going to be produced by the induction. How this induction is going to be happen? How this going to be happen? Suppose if I given a metal of some material, of heating material, I have given some metal. So I would like to have this, I would like to melt that metal or to make the metal to be heated. So I have given a chance to have this, to use this induction heating. Then how? Just we are making in a process that we are, whatever the metal I have given to you, we are going to heat up that metal by electrically. So how means, I will say, it is nothing but the process of heating a metal by electromagnetic induction. So that is without any contact to the supply, we are going to have this heat energy, and by using that heat energy you are going to heat the metal. So I will show how it is going to be happen. So now I will have the definition. Okay, induction heating, see, it is the process of heating an electrically conducting object, nothing but this is conducting material we have taken. So earlier I have, in the introduction, I have clearly told that insulating material is going to be used for dielectric process. All the conducting materials are going to be take for the induction heating. That's why here I have used the metal. So to heating that metal, that is nothing but electrically conducting object. Here is so whatever the process of heating you are going to takes place on the metal is by an electromagnetic induction. Though whatever the heat has been generated by this induction is going to be caused by the eddy currents. Is going to be caused by the eddy current. So the metal which has been heated up by the eddy currents, which can be done by the electromagnetic induction. Okay, so this is the process we are going to make the currents to be passed to the metal and induced by the electromagnetic action. This electromagnetic action is going to be takes place in the material to be heated up. So all this going to be done by this eddy currents. Okay, just let's have a small explanation. So if the supply voltage, if I considered V, capital V is the supply voltage induced in the charge. So whatever the material you want to be heated, I have considered it is in a charge. So the voltage induced in the charge is V, and the resistance of the charge has been taken as capital R. Then the heat can be produced. How much of the heat can be produced? Can you calculate as easily? Because in the previous classes we have discussed power is equal to VI, whereas according to the Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. From that, I is equal to V by R. So here we are making to pass the electric current to the metal, electrically conducting metal. So there, electromagnetic action is going to be exposed onto that metal to heat up the material. Okay, so then heat, what is the heat is produced can be given by V square by R. The same formula we are dealing from the previous classes. See, okay. Here the V is the voltage which was induced in this charge, whatever the charge you would like to heat up, and R is the resistance of the charge I have taken. The heat produced is V square by R. Okay. So now to develop this sufficient, so here we have been produced. To develop this sufficient amount of heat to melt the charge, then what would we have to be considered? That is, here whatever the resistance of the material should be low, because higher the resistance, lower the value of passage of current. So that's why to heat that material, we must require the resistance of the charge must be low. That's why we are why, because I have said this, because we need the sufficient amount of heat to be developed to melt this charge. So lower the resistance, easily we can melt the charge. So this low charge materials are going to be available in the metals only. That's why we have considered metal as a conducting material. This metal as a conducting material. So when the resistance is low, the voltage must be higher. So which can be obtained. How it is going to be obtained? By employing the higher frequency and higher flux. Because here why we are using this flux word? Because we are dealing with the induction process. So this is nothing but working on the principle of transformer. We can easily set this induction is nothing but the principle of transformer. So what is that principle of transformer? Whenever a supply is given to the primary winding, a flux is going to be generated at primary side, and the flux is going to be transferred or the circulated through the core and has been mutually induced. The currents are going to be mutually induced through the flux produced in the core at the secondary side. That secondary side, whatever the current produced due to the mutual induction, is going to be supplied to the load. So this is the transformer principal action. So okay, so that's why here the main point is the resistance which we are going to use for melting up of the charge must be low, because higher the resistance, we need more amount of energy to melt it up. So that's why we are going to use these metals. So these metals are going to have the low resistance. Okay, these are going to be high, we are going to apply this high frequency and high flux for the melting process to maintain this voltage at the higher level. To maintain this voltage at the higher level, we are going to use this voltage flux and higher flux and higher frequency. So that is the thing I have written here. Check it out. Okay. So here I have given just word and that is magnetic materials can be heated than non-magnetic material due to their high permeability. So using this by employing this higher flux and higher frequency, so these magnetic materials can be heated up quickly than the non-magnetic material. Why? Because due to their high permeability. Due to their high permeability. So this complete action is going to be based upon the principle of transformer working. So all you know this transformer. Okay. So now here he has given some analysis for these factors which was going to be effect for this induction heating. So let us have one diagram. So from the diagram you can easily understand how this coil is going to be heated up by this transformer action, that is mutual electromagnetic induction principle, how it is going to be applied. So let us I will show you in one figure. Please check out this figure. Please check out this figure and please observe what are the things you have taken up here. So please join at the time of starting, not before in the middle of. Some are still joining at the middle of the class. Please check out the figure. So from this figure, what you have observed. So here, let me explain you. Just minimize this. Okay. So here, what we have taken. So here, in this figure, you have considered one metallic disc, which was one metallic disc. This metallic disc has been surrounded by a coil. This coil, which is in a copper, made up of copper. So here, what I have did, I have passed the current through this coil. I have passed this current through this coil. Then what will happen? This is an electrically conducting material, that is the copper coil. Whenever a current has been passed through this coil, due to the electromagnetic induction, a current of Is, that is nothing but secondary current. Is is nothing but your secondary current, has been induced in this metallic disc. So here in this, a flux is going to be produced due to that flux, and secondary current is Ip and Is. This Ip is nothing but the primary current. So the copper coil which was connected around this disc has been considered as the primary coil. So the current which was passing through this primary coil is taken as primary current. That's represented with Ip. This P represents the primary. So here, whatever the current which has been induced by this primary current has been Is. This is nothing but your secondary current. Okay, secondary current. So here, whatever the disk we have considered is having a finite value of diameter. The diameter of the disk. So the disk is nothing but like this. I have in this figure you are going to just look it is as a circle, but it is like this. The disk, which is having a finite diameter. So just I am going to have d as a diameter. I'm not going to have any value. So we can calculate when coming to this practical section. So when theoretically we are dealing with this d, we taken the d as a diameter. The secondary, so this coil is going to carry the Is, that is secondary current, among the surface of the surface of this coil. That is nothing but metallic disc. This metallic disc. Surface of the disc, you are going to have this secondary current. Okay. So from this, the heat developed is going to be considered from the following factors. So it is nothing but these are the things which we have explained is has been written here. So whatever the heat developed in this in the disk by the electromagnetic action, that is through mutual induction from the copper coil, has been depends upon the following factors. Some of the following factors, that is oxidization time, primary coil current, that depends upon the primary coil current. So number of turns of the coil, and depends upon the supply frequency. So at the low frequency you are going to have little, and for the high frequency you are going to have the high temperatures. So based upon supply frequency also, the heat is going to be developed in the disk by this mutual inductions, and the magnetic coupling between the coils and the disk, because if the distance between this coil and the disk is very far, then what is going to be happen? The strength of the magnetic flux is going to be happen, that depends upon the strength of the copper coil which you have considered. So based upon the distance also between the coil and the disk, the magnetic coupling effect is also going to be takes place. Okay, and also the high electrical resistivity of the disk. So each and every metal having its own resistivity. Whereas in this type of high frequency heatings, we are going to consider only metals at the side of the induction heating, because we want to produce high amount of heating, high amount of temperature. According to the name indicates high frequency. At the high frequency, a more amount of heat is going to be produced. For that heat generation, we required high amount of voltage. For that, we are going to consider the resistance of the coil must be low. So to maintain that high voltages, we are going to how this high voltage is going to be maintained? By employing the higher flux and higher frequency. So by this process you are going to have, by this you have for this it should be an electrical resistivity, because every object, whatever the object we are considering here to be heated up, is an electrically conducting object, that is the metals. Okay. So here we will see when the heat has been generated to the non-magnetic materials, how the heat is going to be developed, by what term it is going to be developed. So if you consider the magnetic materials, what are the losses or the current is going to be occurs. So first of all, if we consider the non-magnetic materials, if we consider the non-magnetic materials, the heat the generated has been done by eddy currents, is done by eddy currents at low frequencies. When you are going to operate at low frequencies, and at that low frequencies you want to heat up the charge which you required, then the heat is going to be developed by the eddy currents. So this eddy currents is going to be depends upon the square of the frequency. Check it out. Yes. Heat generated is due to eddy current losses. So whenever the charge to be heated is a non-magnetic material, if you consider the non-magnetic material, the heat is going to be generated due to eddy current losses. The heat generated due to eddy current losses. This eddy current loss is going to be depends upon square of the frequency. Square of the frequency. Okay. Suppose if I considered in place of non-magnetic material, if I consider the magnetic material, then the heat generated is going to be takes place by the hysteresis loss. Hysteresis loss. So please keep in mind, non-magnetic materials are going to be heated up. In this non-magnetic material, the heat is going to be generated by this eddy current loss. These magnetic materials are going to be heat that depends upon that heat is depends upon the hysteresis loss nature. That's why this hysteresis loss is depends upon the frequency, depends upon the supply frequency. So when we are operating at the low frequency, what I said earlier, when we are going to operate at low frequency, this eddy current loss is always depends upon the square of the frequency, and hysteresis loss is going to be depends upon the frequency. Okay. So here we have considered the point the low frequency. Now my question is, if we operate at the high frequency, then what is going to be happen between this hysteresis loss and current losses, eddy current losses? So here, when we apply the high frequency or when we operate the material at the high frequency, the hysteresis loss which was produced is going to be very low when compared to the eddy current losses. Is going to be very low when compared to the eddy current losses. Why? Because this is occurs due to the high temperatures attained by the charge at the high frequencies. But because here we are producing high frequencies, so the equations from the equation you can easily understand, because it always depends upon the frequency. So higher the frequency, the hysteresis loss is going to be takes place very high. Due to that, the material is going to get damaged. So it cannot withstand for the high temperatures. But here, whenever the eddy current loss has been considered to the square of the frequency, when the high frequencies occurs, this eddy current, by this eddy current, the heat is going to be generate and the material is going to be withstand for that at higher frequencies. Okay. So due to the high frequency, the temperature which was attained by the charge at the higher frequencies, the hysteresis loss is going to be very low. At that point, the material is going to get seize, because due to its magnetic properties of that material, at high frequencies, the material is going gets seized. So that's why the hysteresis loss is very low when compared to the eddy current loss. Okay. So here the last point, please check it out. When you consider the furnace or the container, which whatever the charge you wants to be heated up, so the temperature, the supply frequency, the higher frequency is going to employ on the charge of the depth which you have placed in the furnace or the crucible. Crucible is nothing but the container or the furnace, because the depth, so please check this value, the depth of the charge where you are going to place in the furnace or the crucible is going to be followed by this formula, that is the depth. It is not in a diameter. There in the disk you have considered the diameter as the d, but here the d is going to be considered as the depth. Okay, the depth is going to be calculated by 1 by 2 pi square root of rho into 10 power 9 by mu into f. Mu into f. This is the formula. Based upon this formula, the depth of the charge where the high temperatures are going to be produced can be find out easily. So this is 1 by 2 pi under the root of rho into 10 power 9 by mu f. Here the d is depth, rho is the resistivity of your material, electrical resistivity of your material, mu is the permeability of your material, and f is the supply frequency. The supply is the frequency, where this resistivity is constant. When you have considered the metal, when you have taken the metal, you did not start any heating process on that material. You did not employ any heating method on that material. So at that starting, the whatever the resistivity of the material you have considered is in a constant. That is nothing but some value. So according to the resistivity, the mu is also in a constant value. So this is in a constant value. Therefore, the depth of the material or the charge which you wants to be heated up always depends upon the square root of 1 by f. Here, that is the thing I have written. It is nothing but d here. Please check it out here. I am writing d is directly proportional to square root of 1 by f. 1 by f. Okay. So, based upon these factors, this induction heating or the type of induction heating has been classified into two types. Induction furnaces. That is core type and coreless type. And also it can be considered as low frequency furnace and low frequency heating furnace and high frequency heating furnace. So based upon this factors, based upon the above factors, the induction furnace, so where we are going to heat your charge. So these furnace has been classified into two types, that is core type, or else it can be called as low frequency induction furnace. And the second one is coreless type or high frequency induction furnace. So let us see how this core type and coreless type has been constructed and how the charge has been heated up and what is the process has been taken according to the construction of your type of induction furnace. So when coming to the first on core type induction furnace, this core type furnace has been classified into three subtypes of furnaces. That is direct furnace, that is direct induction furnace, indirect induction furnace, and also vertical type induction furnace. And there is another name which we have studied in the previous class. That is nothing but Ajax vac furnace. Vertical core type. This vertical core type of induction furnace is also known as Ajax vat type furnace. So in the previous classes you have seen this word. So where we have used this word type of furnace in the resistance heating, indirect resistance heating. Sorry, not in the indirect resistance heating, is the arc heating. In the methods of arc heating, we have seen the furnace which is nothing but an Ajax vac furnace. Now here, in this induction type of heating, under the core type, which was going to be operated at the low frequency, we are going to study this Ajax vac furnace. how this has been considered, and how the charge is going to be heated up, and how this principle is going to be employed in this furnace. So here, whereas whatever the furnace you have considered, here the working principle is always an electromagnetic induction. That is the principle of transformer. Just like in a transformer, here the name indicates. The operation principle of the core type furnace is the electromagnetic induction. Because whereas in the power frequency methods, you have studied about conduction, convection, and radiation. So based upon that mode of transfers, you have been dealt with the power frequencies. And the methods are the resistance heating and the arc reheating. But here we are not going to see any type of conduction, convection, and radiation. So we are just taking the part of method, sorry, part of the mode of transfer, but we are not going to employ that method. So here the complete method of transfer of heat is going to be takes place or be conducted by this principle only, that is electromagnetic induction. So that's why in this high frequency applications, frequency heating methods, always in each and every method, that is induction heating or dielectric heating, in this induction heating, sorry, not dielectric heating, in this induction heating, each and every type is going to be acts like in a transformer, that is nothing but same principle where we are having to see in the transformers, that is direct core type, vertical core type, and indirect core type. Okay. Okay. In the next class, we will discuss about these three types, and also we will complete the dielectric loss furnace also. Okay. So please go through this video, and if you have any queries, please have it in the chat box, or else you can have the questions in the respective concern WhatsApp groups. So at the end of this day, I am going to post this complete PPT of the second unit from first class to up to this class. Please check this PPT. At the end of this unit, I'm going to share the material as like did in the first unit for the first unit. So please check this PPT, and if you have any questions, please you can have your questions in the WhatsApp group. Okay. Thank you and have a nice weekend.